must drop the threat of using military force. Iran's foreign minister and its supreme leader spoke after a second round of talks in Geneva.
A new window of opportunity has opened, under which we had the second round of the negotiations with the United States earlier today here in Geneva. We are hopeful that negotiation will lead to a sustainable and negotiated solution which can serve the interest of relevant parties and the broader region. At the same time, as demonstrated during the aggression of 13 June 2025, Iran remains fully prepared to defend itself against any threat or act of aggression. The consequences of any attack against Iran will not be confined to its borders.
Well, earlier I spoke to our international affairs editor, Dominic Waghorn.
Yeah, the day ended much more encouragingly than it began, as we saw there. It began with the Supreme Leader warning that, he might start sinking American warships if he was pushed to. And his foreign minister saying, progress has been made in these talks. And the Americans have also said that progress has been made, but there's a long way to go. And what Araghchi, the foreign minister, is effectively saying is that they've agreed on sort of guidelines as how they then negotiate this. And the devil's going to be in the detail, of course. So, but, that's going to be reassuring for people watching very closely what's happening a long way from there in the Straits of Hormuz, which is one of the world's most strategic waterways. I think we've got a map of it to give a sense of it. It's a map we roll out every time we talk about Iranian-American tensions. But this time, in the Strait of Hormuz, which is that choke point that sort of blue box is obscuring, over the last couple of days, the Iranian Navy has been in there carrying out exercises that leave no room for doubt that they are prepared to try and block that choke point if they have to, if they get attacked. It's the most sort of unsubtle way of messaging that we've really seen from the Iranians. It's a bit like, you might say, a man sitting on a branch and soaring it off, or threatening to soar it off, because if they do block that waterway, they're going to be in more trouble than anyone else, because they rely on the oil trade, because their economy is doing so badly. But it would be very bad for the world. A fifth of the world's oil passes through that. And just below that H there is where we've now found out the USS Lincoln strike group. So one of America's biggest aircraft carriers, surrounded by 3 destroyers and a number of other naval vessels. They are there just a few hundred miles away from the Iranians, where they are as well. So in this very strategic, very important waterway, becoming now more and more sort of cluttered with the rival navies of 2 enemy nations. So, what could possibly go wrong? If the diplomacy doesn't succeed, a lot could go wrong. And that, I think we'll all feel that. Potentially the price of oil could soar and the rest of it. So there's so much emphasis now on this diplomacy delivering. We can say, yes, they've made some progress, but there's so much further to go. And I think it really boils down to Donald Trump's patience. He said if the Iranians don't do a deal, they didn't last time round when they were given an opportunity. If they don't seize the opportunity now, he will strike Iran, and we could see a massive escalation if he does.
But, I mean, Trump likes a quick deal, doesn't he? And Iran, likes to string things out. And it looks like they're trying to string this out with, guiding principles and all that sort of stuff.
Exactly. And Araghchi is a very seasoned, sort of quite a wily operator, and he knows that if they look obstructive, if they don't look cooperative, then Trump will run out of patience. So he's going to play for time. But there is a lot in it for the Iranians to do some kind of deal. And they know, as you say, that the American president is impatient. He likes big, flashy deals. If they can persuade him to do a deal where the sanctions are lifted in return for some kind of restrictions on the Iranian nuclear programme, they'll be very happy, and the Americans can say, we've done this great deal. The irony, of course, is that could look very similar to the JCPOA, the nuclear deal that took years to negotiate, that Donald Trump said was a really bad deal, that he pulled the plug on, and effectively that led to all the tensions we're now seeing currently. But it could well be a very similar deal.
Yeah.
But a lot boils down to how clever that diplomacy can be.
And isn't one of the problems here that, what they say publicly, particularly we heard from the foreign minister of Iran, what they say publicly may not relate, to what is going on privately and they're putting in these messages to the Oman's foreign minister to shuttle between the two.
I mean, both sides are very good at kind of telegraphing and posturing and grandstanding, and we've seen bad cop Ayatollah Khamenei saying we're going to sink your warships, good cop Araghchi saying no, we're making progress. We've got Trump saying make a deal now or I'm going to hit you. Who's calling whose bluff? Who believes who? And that I think that the jeopardy here is that in that kind of game of posturing and grandstanding, there's room for misunderstanding.